Morning. We hear warnings this morning from the prophet Amos against the idle rich. We hear warnings to those who fail to share out of their abundance in spite of overwhelming and obvious opportunities to be generous. The psalm for today echoes these ideas by instructing us that the only real security in this life comes from trusting God above all things and above all powers, lifting one's sights from the things of this world to the vision and life of God. In the letter to Timothy, idleness is set in contrast to contentment. These are not the same thing. Paul writes that all are entitled to have the basic necessities in this life, and that once we have them, we don't have much room to complain. So contentment on its own is fine, it's encouraged as an outlook, but too much stasis for too long can sometimes lead to the destructive desire for more and more and more security. For those who have much, the letter warns them to guard against greed, striving to have more than is needed. And for those who don't have enough, the letter warns them not to become subsumed with desire for things that are ultimately temporary. Now, that last part may seem a little harsh to our ears, but there's something here that may be easy to miss. Paul is constantly encouraging his readers to think of Jesus' return as being very imminent. So he seems to say, look, only rock the boat if you really need to, otherwise hold steady. He maintains this kind of logic across a number of issues. But I will say this, that I would like to dialogue with Paul about this point. Because when hold steady means people go hungry, or that abuse or toxic relationships or slavery are permitted to continue, or disease spread unchecked, or people ravaged by war or disaster, in some cases, hold steady can be more like hold down, which is a way of keeping the world from getting what it needs to get by. Finally, in the reading from the Gospel according to Luke, all these disparate threads are brought together in a parable about holy judgment. Jesus says that God's judgment is based on a very simple standard. Have we fairly and freely shared what we have, or haven't we? If we have not done so, Jesus implies that eventually there will be a steep price to pay. For if in this life we've hoarded our resources, if we've been unwilling to unclench our fists and share whatever we have, well, Jesus says without equivocation that that attitude deserves to be punished. The parable of Lazarus and the rich man brings a host of questions to us, having to do with basic expectations of ethical behavior in Christian community. What do we owe one another in this life? How are we meant to treat the neighbors among whom we live? And even more, how are we to treat the stranger who is in our midst? What is generosity, especially if it's not just an internal disposition, but what if generosity is a real set of practices? What does it look like when it's being lived out tangibly? What does it mean to live life charitably? Faith, hope, and charity are virtues given to us by God as pure grace. They aren't badges we earn when we level up. We just start with them. Faith, hope, and charity are infused. They are given to the soul. They make us who we are. And these are divine gifts. That is, they are given freely by God and so should be constantly returned to God. They should be spent glorifying God. What God has given us, we can only give back if we spend it. And if we do spend it, we will find it strangely replenished every time we reach for more. We cannot be what we are meant to be if we hoard this precious gift. God gives us a heart for charity, this natural capacity to be self-sacrificially giving. But there's a war raging inside of each one of us, isn't there? Our better angels are fighting against our common desires. God gives us the grace of charity, but it battles against the need we all have for survival, security, pleasure, and esteem. And it becomes a matter of almost gaming it out. How much can I give away? How much can I charitably extend myself before I endanger my own priorities? How much is enough? The parable of Lazarus and the rich man seems to provide us with a kind of answer. And the answer is, that's the wrong question. If we only want to know how much we should give away, and I don't mean only money, but in a much deeper way, everything. If we only operate with respect to where the proverbial line is, how much, just tell me and I'll do it, then we never truly learn charity for ourselves. That is, we never really end up having much of a chance to enjoy charity, loving the act of giving away. We just end up adopting a rule, nuancing the rule, living according to the law. And yet, God is inherently, eternally self-giving beyond the point of self-sacrifice. For people who follow Jesus, this should be plain. So please don't think that I'm just standing here, that I've got this all figured out somehow. If I had, I would be a very different person. I would be the person, as the bumper sticker says, that my dog thinks I am. But lately I have been reminded through a series of experiences with lots of different people that one, I already have way more than I need. And two, I need to look much more upon the world through eyes that have been infused with God's charity. One small example. We're in the process of moving. We've been in the process of moving since I was born, I think. In the month of August, I bet I made 15 trips to the donation line at Goodwill. And on the last of these trips, all four of us Lightcaps were together. And we decided to do something that we'd not done before, which was to actually go in the store and look around. And imagine my shock when I saw things that I had been hoarding and that to me had not been of any use, in some cases for decades. Imagine how it felt to see my stuff displayed, tagged, people looking over it, picking it up, carrying it to the cash register. The light in a young man's eyes when he found some computer part that had been languishing in my basement for far too long. Just between you and me, it took a long time to feel anything like joy because I had to get there. First, I had to move past my own shock and shame and guilt. Later, my eyes opened up a little bit more, and I was glad. I was glad that that chain of things was moving. And I thought, surely the desire to give will grow as we continue to give. The opportunities to give to the Lazaruses of our time and place, the people, the projects, the things that matter, the things that help, those opportunities are packed in around us all the time. And it doesn't take much to start noticing them. After that, eventually, the absolute giddying joy of charity. How much is enough is the wrong question because it seeks first to protect our sense of security. So let's ask these questions instead. How can I remember today who I really am in God and how God really made me? What can I give that will truly help? And what do I have to lift up this situation and make it better? In the name of Christ, amen.